Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Matthew, and I am joined today by Survivor Now analyst Ollie. Today, we are discussing episode 6 of Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Threads at Survivor Now Podcast. We're also on Twitter at Survivor Now Pod. And I'm happy to announce that Survivor Now Podcast is now offering YouTube channel memberships. So if you want to support the channel while also getting exclusive content, you can check out the membership tiers in the graphic below and select the best option that works for you. Ollie is guiding you to where you want to look if you would like
I
a
was
channel
like, trying to find
membership. Yeah,
it.
very helpful. Of course, if you are unable to join at this time, liking this video, leaving comments is another great way to show support. So thank you all again for joining us. We start out today's episode with a rather unusual opening. I expected that we were going to start and check in on the folks from Bayonne after their tribal council the previous week where they voted out Monica, but we end up following Jeff as he goes to Terry with some rather unfortunate news about Terry's son Danny, who has been hospitalized. So this was a very, very sad moment to witness.
Is a massive shock, like, because I think any Survivor fan knows that being on that island, you don't want anything to deter you. Like, we've seen it so many times. People have been medevaced, removed because of injury, and for this be the way to go for Terry, it was just so sad. And they kind of, like Cass alluded to it first, you can only be a parent to imagine that feeling. Obviously, anyone with empathy will feel like how much that must have torn Terry, because it's that thing of, I love this game, but my family is my family. Like, you can't change that. So I think the fact that he straight away was like, nope, my family comes first, absolutely respectful for him.
Oh, 1,000%. And we see a lot of people say that if they were in that position, they would also make that same decision. I'm afraid when it comes to something as serious as this, that is so out of bounds of the game of Survivor, um, life takes over, and
Yeah.
Terry had to be there for his family. I am just so thankful that now watching this after the fact for the very first time, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, I've never seen the season before. But I very quickly Googled Terry and Danny. And as of 2022, very happy to see that Danny is still doing good and his heart transplant went well. So that ended up being what ended up happening there. And we do learn that Danny's doing well after this episode too. So this is a rather eye-opening thing to witness for not only for Terry, but also for the people at camp.
Yeah, you see how it hits, because I feel like it was a slight hit of reality. Everyone, because from what I've heard, when you're in the Survivor bubble, it's just that bubble. Like, you kind of forget that real life is happening and things are occurring, and it was kind of that, almost that wake up call for them to be like, there's still, like, anything can happen. And I feel like it did kind of, you see it from during the episode, it does kind of kick up a couple of people into high gear and kick people back into game mode. But I was just happy to see that, Danny was doing all right. And I remember watching it, and I was getting a bit emotional, just because you never want that to happen, not just to you, but to anyone. Because, like I said, it's the worst way to go, because you're perfectly fine. It's that thing of, you have to go for that other person, which you should never, like, that other person should never feel bad about it, because you are going to do it. Like, if that was my parent or my sibling or my partner, oh. So yeah, much love to Terry.
Much love to Terry, much love to Danny. And as much as this probably really got in the way of Terry's experience, I'm just so happy to see that everything went to plan with the procedure and that everyone's doing okay. So all good there. So now we go to the reward challenge, and this is where we see some of those other reactions to Terry leaving the game. Like we sort of mentioned before, a lot of people share that same sentiment. If there was their kid, if it was their parent, if it was their loved one, without a doubt, they have to go and they have to leave the game. I just can't even imagine what I believe I read in an article that the plane ride was 14 to 16 hours for Terry, which must have been absolute torment at the time.
Yeah.
And, we get to check in with all of the tribes. Did anything stick out to you here in terms of what anyone else had to say?
Um, I think it was just that for all of them, it was that kind of, again, we've seen it happen a little bit during each episode, but just bringing that human element back into the game where everyone just went, no matter what, that is what you do in life. So it was just nice to see people like Savage and Kelly and Sierra, kind of all kind of mention how they felt about it, and kind of alluding to what Kath said. Only a parent will understand that feeling, but everyone will empathize with it, no matter what.
Absolutely. And something that Joe says is, yes, it was a shock. And he also says that there is still a game to be played. I like that they all got to sit with this information for a little
Mm.
bit. Takeo more than some of the other tribes. However, they all got to sort of talk about it and they're back in game mode. So this is where we check in on all of the other tribes. Jeff asks, let's gauge the temperature. How's everyone doing? How are the tribes settling? Are you all friends? Are you all enemies? I think Jeremy says that, Bayonne is a nice little, by the way, I keep switching how I say Bayonne. I want to say Bayonne so badly, or Bayonne because of Jersey, but I'm trying not to anymore. But Jeremy says that they're a nice little family and they're very happy together. A lot of the other tribes, I think a lot of the tribes are feeling closer, especially now more
Mm.
than ever. And Jeff switches things up on them with a
Messy
tribe
Jeff.
swap. Messy Jeff.
Messy Jeff.
This is
Uh,
where we miss Abraham to tell us more about Messy Jeff.
Messy Jeff. I mean, from what it was looking like, because that was some very pointed, like it was very direct. How are you guys feeling as a tribe? How are you guys feeling as a tribe? There is part of me that wished there was some alluding to the previous tribal council, because again, a fan of Monica, there was no like aftermath of that. It was just this justice for Monica getting swept under the rug, no shade. But it was very clear from the tribes that everyone was sticking to this unity thing. I mean, Savage was the king of going, we're inseparable. We have all bonded together. We are the four horsemen of the Survivor, and it's like cool. But yeah,
It was as soon as Savage said that where I was like, oh, you're going to be easy to blindside.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But that was when it was happening. When I think any kind of Survivor fan or someone that when they twig those sorts of questions, they're like, oh, Jeff is about to switch things up. Oh yeah, I was kind of here for it. But there was, sorry, you go.
No. I was going to say truly in response to that.
Yeah. Oh no, so when it come to the swap, I feel like it was very funny of Savage to say how inseparable he was and how like this tribe is strong. As soon as Jeff said tribe swap, openly,
yeah.
openly happy Savage. If I was on his tribe, I'd have sat there and just gone, "You're looking a bit happy there after saying we're inseparable, Savage."
I know. He said, I'm excited to continue winning with this group of people. We're so tight. And you're right. As soon as tribe swap happened, he was like, I'm leaving. Goodbye. And I'm never looking back.
Yeah. And then he was going, can't wait to leave. And then as soon as he got his tribe, he was like, got Wu and Abby.
Yeah.
One of the person that he'd been talking smack about the entire time. And then he was like, yeah, I've got Wu and Abby. I'm sorted. I'm set. I was like, ooh.
Yes. I feel like he would have lucked out even more if Tasha had been swapped onto the same tribe as him. He was way too excited, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think we see this as a theme for this episode where he is not able to look at the obvious around him. So
I will say, I think that's a testament to how balanced Tasha helped Savage in the situation. And I think we see it, especially this episode, that, without Tasha there to be kind of the balance and the
Voice
voice
of
of
reason.
reason, we see how Savage can be. We know.
I am kind of grateful that I did get to see Savage sort of work alone to sort of kind of see his true gameplay come out. Um, you're right. I think Tasha is the missing ingredient from his game at this point. But Wu is also very excited that he and Savage ended up together. I mean, Savage did save Wu, and he has pledged his loyalty to Savage in particular. Um, he didn't say anything about ending up with Abby still, but I think because he's a part of this much larger group now, he's on the new Takeo tribe with Cass, Sierra, Savage, Abby Maria, Spencer, and Kelly Wiggles. I think Wu feels like he's sort of safe because he's in a much larger group now.
I think because he kind of brought himself closer to Tasha and Savage, I think when he sees the connections going into that swap, he kind of feels like, right, if Savage is taking me under his wing, maybe I can just slide by, and maybe this can be the start of my upward trajectory for Wu.
It's like, to me, it feels like he's just trying to find another Tony.
Little bit, but I think with Wu, he has had such a struggle with getting his footing in the game because he's kind of had the uphill battle of Abby, that he's kind of seeing this as maybe it's the chance to finally take that next step that has been eluding him for a bit.
Absolutely. And we also have to talk about Spencer, who is very concerned because he says he doesn't really know how the relationships, what the relationships are now. I think this is the perfect thing about this season of Survivor, that I actually prefer more than what we've been getting recently in seasons 41 plus, which is the fact that everyone has chatted with pretty much everyone at this
Yeah.
time. And I think that is so special because even before merge happens, there are so many different storylines and it's so confusing to all of the players about like, okay, which group of people am I loyal to now? Because I've kind of promised a lot of things to a lot of different people.
Yeah, it's what I loved about kind of each tribe, not just Takeo but Bion as well, was that kind of everyone sort of everyone had some sort of connection. Even Kelly on the Bion tribe, where she is the lone OG Takeo, she still has people with Joe. She still has people with Keith. She could potentially start getting something with Jeremy from San Juan del Sur. So anything can happen. But
It's
I do
true.
want to get Bion.
And Bion has Jeremy, Kimmy, Keith, Kelly Wentworth, Joe, Tasha, and Steven. Steven.
Good old fish back. I feel like with that that tribe, because I mean, Jeff was like, Kelly, you're the only Takeo, and I feel like Kelly kind of set like she was very diplomatic in her answer. And actually, when I look at that tribe, it was like my instincts were kind of correct. Like I kind of felt like Joe was going to be on her side. You feel like Keith will be on her side. I feel like Jeremy will give her the time of day. I feel like the people that would have targeted her were the girls in Fishback. And that is purely because we've seen from Kimmy, if like Bion, she is on this Bion Pagang bandwagon that if you're not Bion or if you're not Bion strong, you're a rat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like with Tasha, a lot of her she's got a lot of strong connections on that side where she has no reason to have Kelly, which is why I could see that's where the danger for Kelly would be.
I agree with you. I do. I think I like what Kelly said about when Jeff asked her that question. She did point out what we were sort of talking about before. She said, yes, I am the only original Takeo here, but I've still had a lot of time with a lot of different people on this tribe based on the last tribe swap. So I think this actually is a good group of people that she's with. The only thing, like you said, is Kimmy that I'm nervous about.
Yeah,
I have no question in my mind that this group, and I'm thinking in particular Kimmy, uh, will be the first to
yeah,
throw Kelly's name out there if it's not already that obvious. I think Kelly knows
yeah.
her name's already out there.
And it's because of this whole tribe strong thing, which for me I've never really gotten fully behind with in terms of kind of Survivor. I understand having connections from your original tribe, absolutely. But if that's all you're going to stick to, and then it's just like the other tribe don't matter, we just get rid of them. Because, like, for me, that's bad social gameplay. Because there could be someone on that tribe that could be perfect for your game, and you're not going to utilize that, and you're just going to sit there and be like, tribe strong. It's like this game, you have to be adaptable and fluid. If you're going to stick to like season one, the Padang, you're going to struggle, especially in the newer era. When, like, especially I think with Survivor, like around this time, you saw that sticking to tribes sometimes it didn't help you socially when it got towards the end.
I'll also add, I don't like that strategy also. To me, it never feels like the person who says we have to remain tribe strong is either a physical threat or it's not really their strategy. Like to me, they have other reasons for wanting to keep the people that they're including in that group of tribes
Mm.
strong, and they're just sort of I always feel like they're sort of using it as a mask
Yeah.
for whatever they really want. The other strategy that irritates me so much is this person doesn't deserve to be in the game anymore, or this person deserves to be here more. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't
Why?
like that.
But also, why do you feel like you're allowed to make that judgment?
Exactly. It's just such an easy strategy to go to that I'm like, can we just
Yeah.
retire this? Because
If they gave a good reason to say this person doesn't deserve to be in the game because they're a threat, they need to go, they're not good for my strategic or my social game, absolutely. If you just sit there and say, oh, this person doesn't deserve to be here, that's where you get in trouble because it's like, okay, but why? If you don't give a why, it then just comes across a bit mean.
I agree. Yeah. 1,000%. I'm hoping I don't see with the group of returning players, I hope I don't see that moving forward.
Mm.
Just FYI, I'm watching Kagion at the same time, and that sort of strategy has come up, and it is irritating me because you're right, Ollie. There's no other rhyme or reason why they're saying this person needs to get out of the game. It's just they don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
All right. We got a bit on a tangent, but we'll rewind. Let's get to the reward challenge. So one member from each tribe will race to slide across a slip and slide. Once to the other side, the first person to land a ring on a post earns a point for their tribe. The first tribe to get 3 points wins a survivor picnic delivered to camp. Ooh, they're all craving this. I would be too.
Oh, I think you saw everyone, but Abby's reaction. Everyone else was like, "Woo!" Abby's there like, "Cool." Like, that, I just had to see that, and it made me hilarious. But to be fair, this looked like a really fun challenge. I think just the swoosh I'd have enjoyed. The best way I can describe it.
I don't know if I would have taken the approach of the swoosh. Actually, maybe with my height and weight, I feel like maybe I would have gone far. But I feel like
Mm.
for a lot of these people, they didn't get very far doing it, and they had. So we're talking about the slip and slide
Yeah.
portion where they all sort of land on their stomachs and go whizzing across. Um, and I can't like. It seemed like people had a harder time getting up than getting to the ring.
So with that, I think it has all to do with your leg strength because you have to be able to project yourself because that's going to give you the momentum to get further. I think with people kind of they would run and then stop and jump when they lose all their momentum. If who were the second people to go? I think it was
It
Will
was
and
Cass and Steven.
not them. Woo, definitely not them two.
Woo and Joe?
Woo and Joe, because you saw them swoop and get all the way to the end, and that was because they used the power of their legs to and the momentum to whoosh them there. But there were some very funny moments during the challenge, to be fair.
Let's talk about Savage's moment real quick, because he loses by like a millisecond. Jeremy gets there, and I feel like we see exactly where he loses. He sort of slips right at the beginning and is always behind Jeremy for the rest of it. But he is fuming when he does not score the point.
You can see the frustration, and I can get it from a competitive standpoint. If I was to lose, I know that there is the competitive side of me that would be irritated and probably go, ugh. But I did see Savage's reaction, and I was like, oh, he's mad. And then there was fish back out water. Oh, fish back. It was, to be fair, fish back and Cass, they both admit they're not the strongest physical players, but props to both of them for giving it a go. And I think Jeremy was right.
Yes.
Afterwards, obviously, Jeremy was like, you need to believe in yourself. We all believe in you. And that's completely true. In these challenges, if you go in with a mindset of, I'm not going to be able to do well, then straight away you've already got that block that you've then got to get past to then do the challenge. So I think, and I know a lot of people can take that as Jeremy being bossy or mean, but he's trying to encourage, and that's what I would be in that situation. If I'm trying to say to someone like, get out of this rut, there's no need to, you can do this, it's never meant to be insensitive, it's never meant to be patronizing. It is encouragement. You've got this, let's go, believe in yourself like we do.
I'm so happy we got to see that moment with Jeremy really confront Steven about, you gotta let this go. You know, you're so right. It was so apparent on Steven's face that he was defeated before the challenge even began. And it really got in his way. And I think that's where I'm getting very frustrated with Steven. Obviously, this is just me as a viewer. We're so far past this season. I'm just reacting as a watcher, but I'm getting very frustrated with who I'm seeing on television, because I want him to have that moment. And we do get a really great moment. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, where he's very vulnerable with the audience that I really appreciate. But I just want to shake him. I just want to say, get your head in the game. You're here. And he's having a very hard time doing it.
Yeah. I feel like all the viewers want to shake him and be like, you're a great strategical player. There is no reason why you can't be a strong physical player as well. One more thing. And I feel like you know what it will be. Abby. Oh. When she thinks, who is she against again? Kimmy.
She's with, is it Kimmy or is it
I think
Abby Kimmy.
It's when she thinks Kimmy's won it, she's walking away. Oh, I was like, classic Abby. I was like, love this for her.
It reminded me, do you remember that challenge from Philippines where there were like, it was like each team had their own pieces that they had to flip over and then run to another one. And Abby didn't really understand how the game was played and kept flipping the other tribes over. It was like part 2 to that moment. But Abby's able to win because her.
I know.
It was so great. The tribe is just like, get back there.
And I feel like that, everyone I always feel like Abby's very underrated when it comes to the physical game. But she is actually quite a physical player. And you kind of saw it there where it was like, she just one toss, sorted it. But it was just the thing of, I lost, screw it.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Maybe that helped her too, because she was I feel like she was very relaxed during the challenge. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's some nerves there, but to be able to walk away being like, I lost, but then to realize like, no, the game's still happening, and you're like, oh, okay, gotta launch it. That was wonderful. And then we have to talk about sudden death, because it gets down to a sudden death, and it's Battle of the Kellys. And we have Wentworth versus Wigglesworth. This was like Game of Thrones levels.
Oh my god, yeah. Battle of the Kellys, I was all here for it. And I feel like they were both very evenly matched as well. So it's like, regardless of who won it, they both did very well and actually proved that they were quite capable physically.
And this is where I wish Abraham was here, because I'd love to know if the order, and I actually have this, I want to ask this question for the immunity challenge as well, but I want to know if the order was pre-selected or the pairings were pre-selected, because if I was Kelly Wentworth, personally, as the only original Takeo member, I feel like I would want to volunteer to go earlier
Mm.
in the rounds where it's not all or nothing on me to win or lose it. So that's where I'm like, did Kelly Wentworth have the choice, or was she always going to be at this point? And
Yeah.
I don't know, what would you do? Do you think that you would, if you were the sole, if you were on the outs, which one would you go with?
I'd want to go early.
Yeah.
I'd want to go early, and I'd want to know who I was kind of up against, because I'd probably want to go against someone not as bad as, like, not so bad, like, not like, it'd be like me going against Fishback. Like, I wouldn't want to just easy win. Like, I'd want to at least go against someone who seems like they can do, like, they know what they're doing, to then prove like that worth to the tribe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like I would also go towards the front, especially if I'm on the outs there. So Takeo ends up winning immunity. Wiggles beats Wentworth, and I love calling her Wiggles. I hope she's okay with it, but it's just it's so easy. Takeo wins the Survivor picnic. So we go back to their beach. It's now day 14. And this is the Spencer show right now. He's really trying to figure out where he stands in the numbers, what his relationship is to Cass. It's not looking great. I forgot to mention that during the tribe swap, Cass was very clear and out loud to everyone that her and Spencer have not gotten along in the past. Specifically, what happened between their games on Cagayan. So Spencer's really trying to figure this out. And he is also, I just want to make sure that this is now, we learn later that he wants to align with Savage, that he's really eager to play with Savage. But in the meantime, Savage is forming an alliance of 5 with Cass, Sierra, Wu, and Abby, which is what he said he would do.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the brownies look so good.
Oh, so good.
So good. Shout out to whoever made them. They can send me the recipe. But no, I completely agree. I think Spencer was very aware straight away that, he was not in a good position. And it was kind of almost like tribe swap, his original thing 2.0, because he was with Kelly Wiggles and it was them two clearly at the bottom, and now he's gone, great. These people are clearly going to team up. I'm at the bottom. What can I do? And it sounds so, I feel like Savage like we said, he came into the swap very confident and very happy with what he was going to do. And he kind of gets a bit confident. I don't want to say the other meaner way of saying cocky, but he kind of has a very confident complex. Like, you can tell he thinks that he's gone into this situation, and I think because he's kind of the only alpha male, like, kind of figure there, he's kind of put himself in the pedestal. But I feel like you then saw, as kind of the scene went on, why he needs kind of Tasha and someone else to help him, because he straight away was like, right, guys, this is the 5. We're going to go for Spencer. We're going to tell Spencer it's Sierra. And you're sat there. And she makes a great point. She, like, first of all, she clocks the hierarchy. She goes, oh, so clearly, like, I was never high on Savage's list anyway, which I completely agree. I think if there was ever no tribe swaps, Sierra probably would have been it probably would have been Fishback, Monica, Sierra. Because I feel like something tells me that Savage would have kept Kimmy around. But it's really good that Sierra, like, she kind of mentioned, like, after Dietz had gone, it kind of gave her the push to be like, right, I've got to make sure that I'm safe here. And it's right, it's never fun to have your name said out loud. But also, they swapped into a tribe, and there's Kelly Wigglesworth. Like they mentioned Wu, but there's Kelly Wigglesworth.
Yeah.
Easily could have just said, "We're going to go for Wiggles," easily, but he didn't.
I
And
have
I
to
feel like
admit,
that.
I also forgot Wiggles was here throughout the episode. It wasn't until I saw her at
Where's Wiggles?
spoiler alert, they go to tribal council, but it wasn't until I saw her sitting there where I was like, "What? You're here?" Yeah. I this frustrated me. I'm obviously very happy for Sierra for how things ended up working out for her, but um first of all, forming a plan before the immunity challenge never works. I'm just gonna say it. If like as when you start throwing around names, yes, it's easier to say from a viewer's perspective, like, oh, that plan's not gonna hold through. We still have 45 minutes left of the episode. But when someone comes up with a plan like this, and it includes throwing a person who's in your alliance under the bus for being the vote, that's a lot of time for that person to sit there with that information and process it. If Savage was going to do this move, he needed, I think, he still could have agreed with the group that they're in an alliance of 5. He still could have said, "We're getting Spencer out." But then you wait until after the immunity challenge and right before tribal to say, "I guess Spencer just has to, say a name, and I guess we're just gonna give him Sierra." Like, really quick before, so there's not
Yeah,
a lot of time.
yeah, no, completely. But then also, like Sierra alluded to, it shows his standings, and clearly he knows how much he's got in Wu in his little back pocket. And I think again, Savage. I think what it was Savage showed his cards,
Yeah.
and he showed everyone. Oh no, I'm keeping Wu around. Wu's not even being in contention, and it's that thing of again, he's one of the people that are shouting "Buy on strong, buy on strong, buy on strong," but then you're throwing a buy on under the bus.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. Um, so
I
it was
hope he
just
doesn't play poker because this was the biggest blunder I think I've seen this season so far. Just in terms of not not very much being very aware of the situation. And I will have to use the word that you hesitated to use before. I do think this was slightly cocky of Savage to sort of put himself in this position. And you're right, the whole thing about the hierarchy. But let's jump over to Bion. Day 14. Long story short, Kelly knows she's on the outs. Joe wants to keep her. And Joe suggests that they get rid of Kimmy to Tasha and Steven. Steven tells Jeremy that Joe is saying Kimmy, and Jeremy, obviously, none of them want this, but Steven's really pushing to get Joe out because of this.
yeah. Again, it's that buy on strong thing, and I think as well, and we'll get into it a little bit when we talk about Stephen's vulnerability, but I think when it comes to physical strength, I think Joe had every right because Kimmy isn't one of the strongest physical players, and I think she knows that. Like it's not a bad thing. Again, some people might not be physical, but they at least they try. She is a trier. Um, but I think what it was probably was Fishback, Jeremy, and Kimmy had just been in a group, and obviously they were going to be tight. They were going to be a free because of what they just did to Monica. Um, so I think Fishback kind of saw that again and was like, nope, that's someone that I definitely trust. And then it gave him the time to then be like, right, let's target Joe. And I did appreciate Jeremy being the voice of reason. Again, Jeremy is how Tasha is to Savage, how Jeremy is to Fishback. He's the voice of reason to be
1000%.
like, let's think about this, let's process this, let's look at all the options.
And we see that Jeremy doesn't want to get rid of Joe first. That's not part of his game. Tasha says the same thing. So Steven is really struggling to use his numbers to his advantage. And this is where we get that moment with Steven that I found to be very, very beautiful, just because it opened my eyes to Steven has a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he is very much haunted by not winning Survivor Tocantins. And he gets emotional about how he feels like this move right here is the game defining move for him of getting
Mm.
Joe out. And he is struggling with the fact that he can't seem to convince the other people he is working with that this is the game move that they have to take, that he has to take.
Do you know what? I don't think it's I think it's not the game move. It's Steven's redemption, his second chance redemption, because it's very clear that, you know, the result that happened in Tocantins, which I'm currently watching, haunted him. And, you know, he doesn't want Golden Boy 2.0 to happen again. And I think when he sees Joe display that type of thing, it gets him, like, his emotions and why he's here again come up. And I think that's where he can start to potentially, moving forward, he can start just to have the blinders on. And if he allows them blinders to come on and it's gotta get rid of the Golden Boy, go, 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 it will trip him up. But I can understand why he wants to do it. But I think it's that difference between it's not the game-changing move right now, it's his redemption move.
You're right. His mind is telling him that I can shake off whatever happened in Tocantins by getting rid of Joe. And I just want to be like, Steven, you were able to somehow get over this fear with
Mm.
Jeremy. Why can't you just get over this fear with Joe? If that's your only reason, if getting Joe out, if the only reason you can think of is because I want redemption from Tocantins, that's probably not actually your best move. We saw Joe is willing to work with Steven or, you know,
Mm.
trying to be like, "Hey, I think we should get rid of Kimmy." Um, so h basically almost like what Kimmy was doing with Monica, which is like, "I don't even wanna play with you." He doesn't wanna risk Joe going farther in the game than he gets.
Yeah, it, like, I can't say anything more. It's literally like how Kimmy was with Monica is how kind of Steven is starting to be with Joe. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Well, we're going to definitely see some storylines develop right after the immunity challenge. So we're going to take a very quick 47-second break, and we'll be right back to talk about the immunity challenge and all that follows.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more superfans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a superfan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
Okay, so now we're at the immunity challenge, and oh no, 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 no. So basically, members from each tribe will race to consume local Cambodian delicacies. And the first to get the food down earns a point for their tribe. The first tribe to get 4 points wins immunity. Okay. Okay. We have a lot of people who've done this in the past. Wiggles
Yeah.
was the first to do this challenge. Kimmy would not even attempt to eat. She was presented with cow brains her first season. She wouldn't eat them. And then Savage and Sierra also participated. And Sierra had a hard time with this challenge too.
Yeah.
No, it's a no for me. But
This is
also,
this is the first challenge. Nah, I'm good. I'm a fussy eater. No, I'm good.
we're classic. If there was like chicken tenders, all set, all great. You know what? I think the thing that I really do hope that the items that we're about to talk about were truly, you know, delicacies that are a part
Mm.
of Cambodia. Because if I can get that in my mind, if I can put that in my mind, like people eat this every day, you know, like these are things. I don't know how exaggerated production got with some of the things that were presented on these plates, but if I could put it in my mind that this is food, I think I'd be okay. But let's go down the list real quick of what there is, and I want to hear from you. If you had to do one of these, which one would it be? So we have 2 tarantulas per
Nope.
castaway, 2
I'm saying
giant
that
water
now.
beetles. We got water beetles. We have pig snout, deep fried frog, pig brain, scorpion, and balut, which is duck embryo.
No for the tarantulas. I have arachnophobia, but like even dead, I would have ran the other way. I probably would have gone. Sounds so bad. I am a bacon lover, so I probably would have gone for something pork related. I probably would have gone for the brains.
Okay, brains. Okay.
Probably would have gone for the brains because I feel like they are, from what I've heard, they aren't the worst thing.
Good to know. That might change my answer. I was going to go with the deep fried frog because I feel like I've seen that before. I feel like it's more familiar in my brain where I'm like, I know people eat this. Like I know that it's a thing. So, but I agree. When I going into this challenge, I was like, oh, you should go first because they're just going to build up in intensity as you go. And when the tarantulas were right there, I nearly fell off my couch. I was just like, oh gosh, no.
I probably will sound like I'll probably be the biggest hypocrite now. So I would have done what Kimmy did when she had the pig brains and she was like, nope, you can eat a free brain. I would have been like that with the tarantulas, probably. Like sitting here, I'm sat here now going like, oh no, I wouldn't have done it. In that situation, I would have had to have swallowed a lot of pride to eat them tarantulas, but
you would have had to swallow tarantulas.
Oh, just the thought of it. Oh.
Well, let's talk about this. So Kimmy and Tasha. So we're doing rounds of 2. We start out in rounds of 2 from each tribe. So Kimmy and Tasha from Bayon and Wu and Spencer from Takeo. They have to finish the 2 tarantulas each. Why is it 2? Why is it 2? They're just like,
aren't they big anyway?
So they killed 8 tarantulas for it. I'm not saying they killed. I shouldn't say it like that. But they somehow the delicacy tarantulas, they wasted 8 of them on these. Am I doing the math right?
Yeah.
2 per person. Okay, thank you. That was wild. Wu and Spencer earned the point for Takeo. Everyone gives it their best shot. So good on Kimmy and Tasha. Round 2 is the giant water beetles. Jeremy and Keith for Bayon versus Savage and Sierra for Takeo. Sierra and Savage, they both do their thing, but Jeremy and Keith win this round. We have Steven and Kelly Wentworth for Bayon. They eat the pig snout and they win against Cass and Abby. I feel like I might do the pig snout too.
Yeah, Abby, no problem.
Yeah.
See, so it wasn't that bad.
But I didn't understand. Some of them were holding their noses for the pig snout, and I was like, does it?
There's probably a smell to it.
Probably, okay. Yeah, who knows? Except them. We should ask. Okay, we'll keep this in mind for questions in case any players come onto our show. So, and also the thing with the pig snout is it's not like I'm so sorry for everyone. I hope no one gets queasy by this, but it's not like there's like the insides of like a full creature. You know what I mean? Like you don't get the same thing in the tarantula that you do in the pig snout. Oh my! I'm disgusted that we're talking about this.
I love the fact it's just me and you having this conversation.
I know.
Of all people. Yeah, this is definitely one of those challenges that it requires willpower and mental strength because you kind of saw it with the challenge. I think Cass very much probably I would have been in the same shoes as you. Have to mentally get into that zone, and if you're struggling, it's going to be so hard to get in there. And then just the willpower to not give up, even if you know. It's it's continuing going on, even if you can see that the other person's killing it. Like, it's that you just got to keep going because you never know what can happen.
It's true. It's true. That's a great point. You never know. I mean, you never know how long it's going to take the other tribe to get it done. So as long as you just, I think my strategy would be do it in smaller pieces. I know you just want to get it done with and get it in and down, but I feel like, getting chunks at a time will just be easier to deal with. We then also get deep fried frog, my choice with pig snout, Joe. And now we go into singles mode. So it's only one person per tribe. Joe for Bion, Kelly for Takeo. Kelly wins this. Pig brain. This is where you were talking about. Kimmy is just like, congratulations, Woo.
Yeah.
You're gonna get this point if you can eat it.
And I feel like it was how she kind of just was so nonchalant about it and was like, that's all yours, Woo. I feel like that could be taken so bad from her tribe mates, because obviously if they lost, and she gave people ammo, and I feel like that's where it would have become tricky for Kimmy, because she would have given her tribe ammo to use against her. Because lo and behold, if anyone else did that, I feel like they would get the same ammo.
She must have felt so secure with her tribe in order to not do it. And if I was on her tribe, I would want to be like, you ate a spider. You ate a tarantula. Eat the brain.
But she hasn't eaten pork in 20 years. 30 years.
Fair. I get that. You just ate a tarantula.
I mean, my question is, how could you have not eaten pork in 30? I mean, again, I can't judge anyone for that. I just love pork, so that's just me.
As someone whose pork is not my main meat that I go to, I understand that with Kimmy. And of course there could be, other things going on there. If I'm just talking strictly that, like, a person says they're vegetarian but then eats an animal before getting, I can understand if the brains came before, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But if it's just a thing about vegetarian and, like, you ate a spider, I just want to be like, you ate a spider, eat the brain. But it pays off for her, and that, we'll go over that why in just a second. We end up having a scorpion round between Kelly Wentworth and Sierra. Kelly wins this point for Bion, so they're catching up. And now we have the final round, which is Balut, or duck embryo. It's Tasha for Bion versus Cass for Takeo. Here's where I have that question of, are the orders pre-selected? Because Cass really struggled with this challenge when she did when did she last do? She ate something else in here.
Yeah, it was the pig snout.
Thank you. She ate the pig snout, but she really struggled with it. So I would not select her for this last round if the point comes down to this.
Yeah.
So I feel like the order was selected.
Yeah, I feel like we'll need to get some insider tea on that one.
I do want to ask that question. So Tasha wins this for Bion. She eats the whole balut. Jeff says shell and all, which makes me, if I was a contestant, I feel like I would have, if I did that, if I was Tasha, and I would have turned to Jeff and be like, did I not have to eat the shell? Like,
you can though, can't you? Shell's good for you.
I mean, I'm sure it is. For me, if I don't have to eat it, I'm not eating it. So if I put the whole thing in my mouth thinking I had to take the shell too.
But then here's the thing, it's blue. And I've seen that on another UK show. It's not a pretty sight. So I feel like it was probably smarter just to eat the shell as well, because if you're taking it out of the shell, you're seeing it. No.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. Oh gosh. Balut, I feel like, is one up there that it doesn't seem not for me. I think they did it on China also. I think I remember it.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Something about the feathers on it. Oof, it's a no for me. But Bion wins immunity. So they send Takeo to tribal council, and we see that Cass and Sierra feeling like they let down their tribe by not being able to accomplish it. I would have been like, it's okay, Kimmy didn't eat the brains. Oh, well, her tribe won. Never mind. And then Jeremy steals a bite of the balut on his way out, which is very, very brave.
Well done, Jeremy.
Yeah, good on him. All right. So now we go back to which tribe are we going back to? Takeo. Thank you. My notes buzzed for a second. So we're Takeo, day 16. Wu is very set that the plan is they're voting Spencer, and as long as everything goes to plan, that should be what happens. Savage, we see him confirm the plan with his group, and then he goes and tells Spencer that everyone is voting for Sierra, when in fact everyone is actually supposedly voting for Spencer. I feel like Savage should have brought one person from his alliance with him. I feel like Wu or Cass should have been with him. Maybe not Cass.
No, I think Cass.
You think so?
I think if he was being smart and wanted to get people on side, Cass would have been the perfect person because of him. Because earlier in the episode, Savage alluded to the fact that he wanted to pit Cass and Spencer against each other.
That's right.
But if he was planning to save him and he didn't want to give anything away, bring Cass. Because if he's that, because then it makes him force Cass to kind of be like, yeah, we do want to keep you. But one thing that I did notice at that first thing was, as soon as Sierra was trying to get a conversation and like everyone was trying to pitch the plan, Savage goes, right, everyone just remember the plan. If he comes asked and we just say it's Sierra, right, no one talk to Sierra, leave her alone. And I was like, you're literally making people isolate from her. I was like, what are you doing? And again, it's that thing of Sierra is like, really? And I feel like it's those little things that happen that are why you see Sierra and Cass and Abby kind of sit there and go, why are we taking this? And good on Cass for taking a step back, being calm Cass, and going, let's look at the bigger picture here. Let's look at everything.
1,000%. I love the moment with Sierra where she's saying to Cass and Abby, I'm uncomfortable being the pawn. And they're all agree. Like, who does he think he is? Like, all of a sudden we just have this hierarchy, and it's clear that they don't really agree with it. Sierra in particular. Cass, I feel like you're right. Staying centered, staying in the middle, really is listening to both sides and making the best decision for her. Abby, to me, is just I feel like Abby's like, we're getting Wu out. Okay. Like, that's great.
Abby was like, yay, finally.
Finally.
Abby just goes, Wu's going out? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that plan. So we don't see a lot of Abby in this episode. I would have loved to have heard some of her confessionals this time, just because I really want to know, like, this truly was one of the ending points of one of her storylines, being that Wu voted for her twice. I'm not saying it's the end for Abby. I'm just saying that I feel like her storyline is going to move on to bigger things from here. But this is like a final chapter for her. So I wish we got to hear a little bit more from her. And then we like you said, Cass is aware of everything, but she pitches to Spencer. Hey, actually, she doesn't just pitch. She says, by the way, you wanted to work with Savage real bad. That's really cute. Savage is trying to get you out. And did he tell you to write down Sierra? Yeah, that's all part of the plan. So she pitches that herself, Sierra, Abby, and Spencer should vote Wu. Why do you think Cass and Spencer are easily able to write down Wu? They played with him.
Yeah, well, I think it's because when I look at how Wu has played so far, it's very clear that he's not really going by season. Like, because there was 4 of them. Wu, Spencer, Cass, and Tasha. And you kind of saw in the original Takeo, Spencer and Wu didn't really have anything going. And then you kind of saw on Anchor, Wu didn't really have a strong relationship with Tasha until it benefited him. So I feel like it's almost been that thing of Wu's purposely distanced himself from Cagayan people, and they may have noticed. And then also, to Cass's credit, I think she took a step back, saw the hierarchy, and went, okay, it's clear. Here's Savage. He's put his number 2 as Wu. So she's done that thing of, if this is the top person, here are the people just below him. Smack one of them. So that's probably where she's gone. Okay, this will weaken Savage and get me into a better position than I currently am.
It was great strategy to pay attention to the way, like we said, Savage threw Sierra's name out there, not Wu's. So that gives a lot of clues, or Wiggles. So they were all able to realize Wu's high up there in Savage's world. And I do think they end up making the right choice. But we do see, you know, Cass sort of struggles. You know, is she going to be Chaos Cass? Is she going to be Calm Cass? I'm not sure, like, which vote means she's chaos versus which vote means she's calm. To me, no matter how she voted, I feel like they were just going to label her as Chaos Cass again.
Yeah, probably.
But now we go to Tribal Council. You know, we get like a couple of the things we've already been rehashing. Jeff says that the game is it's more of an experiment than an actual game. And it's just a way to see if you change the way you played the first time. Now, do you get a better result? We see that Savage, oh, this is funny. Savage says he's been working on his personal game, and it gives that little rattlesnake sound effect and cuts to Spencer. And he thinks this was, I thought, important to flag for Spencer in particular as well. When Savage says the thing about he's been forming deep relationships and identifying people that he can work with, we didn't see a lot of conversation between Savage and Spencer. So it doesn't seem like Spencer was one of those people that he was forming deep relationships with and building trust with. So if I was Spencer, I'd be like, even more of a hint that Cass was right and Savage is truly cutting me off tonight.
No, that's a fair point. I feel like Jeff, like this tribal was very much speaking about their second chance stories, because he alluded to a couple of people and they were talking about them. And then you kind of moved on to laying out what was kind of happening with the vote. And I thought it was very brave of Cass. I don't know if brave is the right word, but Cass and Sierra kind of lay the social dynamics out there. And they kind of do hint to Savage and Wu. Yeah. Which I thought was very interesting. And I was like, that's ballsy.
Sierra says Savage has taken a liking to Wu. Where does that leave us? And I was like, wow, okay, we're going there.
Yeah.
But it really doubles down on what I said earlier, which is it seems just really easy to blindside Savage.
I think I kind of alluded to it with Fishback. Right. I feel like when we got into this swap, Savage kind of ever so slightly put some blinders on, because he was like, I can see what I'm doing, I can see what I need to do, this is what we're doing, not looking at anything else. And I feel like that was where he made the mistakes, because he didn't then affirm things, he then didn't look at the bigger picture. He then didn't keep his kind of his eyes just slightly looking outwards to see if anything else was going on. Which it did.
Yeah, it's like he didn't realize how much information he was indirectly giving to everyone.
Yeah. If he had, again, the season happened ages ago, and we're not in that situation, so we are just perspectives. But had he said, target is Spencer, we're going to tell everyone it's Wiggles, it would have been so, I think it could have been so much more set and things could have planned out differently.
I forgot Wiggles was there again.
Exactly.
I did. I feel so bad. I really like Wiggles. I really do. I'm rooting for her because she just feels like an underdog to me. But mean, she hasn't voted correct. Maybe once she voted correctly. I'm not too sure. But she, for the majority of the vote, she has not voted correct, and that's the same here. So she's really just floating out there as we could say a free agent, but it just seems like no one really has an idea of how she fits into their game. So it does make me nervous that next week she might be the next to go. I don't know, maybe someone will utilize her or she'll fit into a narrative more, but she just seems stuck. It's actually it's interesting to me. And maybe that's part of her strategy, lay low and let everyone else take shots at each other. But I feel like for that to be more true, she would have to be voting in the majority for that to make sense. Right now, it just feels like she sort of doesn't know where she lands.
Yeah.
So Wu gets voted out. It's a 4-3 vote. I wrote Kelly Wiggle, so to me it looked like two names where I was like, we didn't tie here. So we have Spencer, Cass, Sierra, and Abby who voted for Wu, and Wu, Savage, and Wiggles vote for Spencer. On Wu's way out, Savage gives him that like gesture of like.
I think that was his probable. I think that was actually quite a genuine reaction from Savage of going, I have no idea what happened. So I do think that was like that. That was just Savage going, no, I'm in much in the dark as you, mate. And I'm glad that the girls managed to pull that off, because I think for them, it needed to happen, because I think it's very clear that Wu was never going to be on their side moving forward. It was very clear where Wu was going to head and who Wu was going to hide behind. So I feel like the girls doing that, it benefited their game.
I agree with you. I think it was absolutely the right move for them to make. They saw what the direction was that Savage's plan was sort of leading them into. They adjusted their strategy and worked together to get out another target so that they have the majority. And I thought that's like the perfect illustration of what you need to do when you see these things forming. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Yeah.
And that goes for in the game of Survivor, and that goes in life. And this, it was shocking to me when I first watched it, but upon a second watch, I was like, I get it. I really, really get it. I really wish that it ended with Savage saying, Cass, 0% chance of winning this game. I thought that would have been very nice. I want another callback to that at some point. I know Cass said it about Spencer this time, but curious to see the fallout from this, because I don't imagine Savage being very happy.
No, I think especially with how Savage has been this season, I feel like there's definitely going to be fallout, and you kind of see it with the trailer for next week. Feels like things are going to get a bit spicy, and because it's merge, I'm excited.
Yeah, we had a tribe swap like one day before the merge. That is insanity to me. So with that, I'm excited to get to the merge next week. We're going to end the live stream here. Again, make sure to find us on Spotify and join us next time for our live stream next week when we talk about episode 7. Of course, we have our live chat still operating, so feel free to join us and engage in the conversation. Have a good day.